Do you want to learn how to make beautiful reborn dolls of color? You can do this too. And me and two of my dear friends are going to teach you how to do this. Did you know that 95%, well, even more than 95% of all reborn dolls in the world are white Caucasian skin toned? While the amount of white babies born in the world today is only 3%. So I think it's time to change that. This is why I made a course so you can learn how to paint beautiful ethnic reborn dolls as well. This course will be for all levels. So if you have a lot of experience with painting and making dolls, this course will not be boring for you. And if you have never painted a doll before, I am going to teach you step by step in your pace how to make a gorgeous doll like this as well, because I want this to be accessible for everyone. My name is Margriet and I am a professional ethnic reborn doll artist. Before I started making dolls, I have a lot of years of experience of making ethnic baby portraits. So I have been a portrait artist for years and I've specialized in a technique called a glazing technique. And the way we are going to learn how to make these reborn dolls is as if we were painting a portrait of a child on canvas. But instead of doing that on canvas, we are going to paint this portrait on dolls. And that is what will make them very realistic. Of course, there are hundreds of types of skin colors, and there is not just one baby of color. So in this course, we will focus on making an Eritrean baby of color. Our main model is the beautiful girl
Sarah.
and of course I am not a person of color, but I do have many years of experience with painting portraits and studying skin. And I will work together with two of my dear friends who are amazing artists of color and specialize in making dolls of color, and they will give their expertise as a person of color in how we can paint dolls of color. This is Precious Little Gems Nursery. Check out her beautiful work. Video, we're going to practice 3 things. 1 is how to recognize colors to paint on your doll. 2 is to practice the glazing technique that we're going to use to paint our doll with. And 3 is how to prepare our doll kit. Before we get into it, send me an email to this email address and get the pictures that we're going to use in this course for free, high quality, emailed to your email address. And through the email you can also get the link to our closed Facebook group and become part of the community so we can help each other along the way. What's the difference between this head and this head? Well, I hear you think, obviously this head has no color and no depth and this head does. But the question is, how on earth can you make something like this? How on earth do you make a doll of color without it becoming totally flat and just brown? I'm going to teach you how to recognize the colors that you're going to use and what skin does to the colors when it folds or when lights hit. Also, I'm going to teach you to recognize them yourself, so you don't get a baby by just copying everything that I do, but that when you in the future want to paint another baby, that you're able to recognize the colors and to know which color to use and when to use it. To be able to recognize the colors perfectly, you have to start with training the eyes, because it's important that we're training the brain to paint what we see and not what we think we see. For example, let's talk about this shirt. If you were coloring in a coloring book for children, you would see a shirt and think, this shirt is going to be blue, and you would paint the whole shirt blue. Well, but then the shirt would be flat. So let's look at my shirt. This shirt is white, but the places that are in shadow, when I zoom in on them, you'll see that they look bluish or grayish, even though when you stretch the shirt out, it's white again. So the shirt is white, but the way we perceive the color depends on a lot of factors. So let's fold it again. You'll see that a lot of other colors are appearing, even though the shirt is still white. So the brain interprets what it sees, and you'll have to paint different colors than you think you see. Also, there is difference between warm and cold. When you zoom in on the shirt and you'll see it without the baby next to me, you'll think the shirt is white. But when you see the shirt of the baby next to it, you'll think my shirt is yellow and that this shirt is white. The same with the socks. If you see the socks next to the pants, the socks appear to be white. But if you see these socks next to the dress, they appear to be yellow. So the colors surrounding your color that you want to paint change the way that your brain perceives the color. So I prepared some exercises for you to practice at home, because when you think you understand color, you still don't understand color. It's not easy. We have to recognize the right colors regardless of the surrounding colors. So the first exercise I made up and that I use today every day is the white window. Let me show you what it is. As you see in here, we have a lot of things that appear to be white when they're on their own. This wall is white, but as you see, that when the shadow hits, it seems to be bluish, grayish, greenish. This is white, but the white is totally different from this white. You also see that this white appears to be totally different than this white. If you're going to paint this part, you're actually not going to use white at all, even though the table is white and you know that. So first, you're going to choose a big piece of paper and make sure that your paper is pure white and not a yellowish white. Second, we're going to cut a little square into our white paper. Like that. And then we're going to glue the rest together. Now we have a white little square and we're going to practice recognizing colors with this square. So when we look through it, we see our white wall, but the color we actually see is not white at all. We're going to use this picture to practice. Know that you can order all of the prints from me as well, because that way you can practice exactly what I do. But you can use any picture for this. So this is how the white window works. We see our beautiful model. You think she's one color brown, but there are places that the light hits, there's places where her skin folds, there's places that have blood vessels underneath their skin, there are places that the skin is thinner, that the skin is thicker, there are places that she has more pigment and places that she has less pigment. So let's practice. Our first color we see here is a dark brown. So if you want to know which color to paint, you can see through this window which color you're going to need. If we only move it a little bit, we see already a lighter brown. See the difference? And it's only a little movement. You can try this at home with different prints of babies. You could also just buy a magazine about babies and do this with the pictures in the magazine, so you can study the color of their skin. There are different apps that can choose colors for you, but it's very important to train the eyes in real life. That way you will understand why you will choose different colors. Even though the subject you're trying to paint seems to have one color, you will recognize so many different colors in one picture. Try the white window with your own skin and recognize all the colors you see in your tiny piece of skin. And see how they differ from each other. For the second exercise, you're going to need your sketchbook. And again, don't skip this step. It's very important to practice training the eyes. Ooh, scary with the scissors. So for this exercise, you're going to use the print that you've ordered from me, or you're going to print some of the pictures from the ebook that I sent you, or you're going to use baby pictures from a magazine that you still have. We are going to practice the white window, but in a different way, in a way that we are going to recognize depth, as in dark and light colors, and cool and warm colors. The first thing you have to do is cut your picture in many pieces. There we go. Since we're going to practice skin, I'm going to cut out everything that is not the skin. And it's important to say that the pieces where the darkest shadows cast and the lightest light is because of the sun. But still, this is a very useful picture to recognize colors. So here we go. You can first see the difference here between the forehead and the cheeks. The forehead is way more reddish toned, as you see here, while the cheeks are way more yellowish toned. We're going to cut this picture in even more pieces. Then we're going to glue similar colors together. So we're not going to look at the actual part of the body, but we're going to put similar colors together. First, we're going to practice to put the colors from dark to light. So as you see, skin has many different colors. You can practice this with different type of skin. And also, if you only look at the lips, the top lip is a totally different color than the bottom lip. If you want to practice this with eyes and lips, you will have to zoom them in a lot more, so you can also practice looking at the different colors in the lips. So actually our printer had a little problem with printing this out, but if you want to practice light and dark but you have a hard time recognizing it, you can use a picture and you can turn on the contrast like it's done here, and that way you can see big contrast parts so much easier. So if this is still a little bit too hard for you, you can use one of the pictures in my ebook and print them out, and I have heightened the contrast in it so you can see the difference between light and dark easier, and then you can again cut them out and glue them into your sketchbook. Of course, this picture is over exaggerated, but it tells you a lot about the shapes of the darkness in the face. So let's just cut out the shapes that you can see. And I've also added this picture without the over exaggeration, so you can practice it like that as well. So we're going to cut out the darker shapes that we see. There we go. And recognizing shapes is very important for when we are going to actually paint the doll. It's like country borders. It's almost like you're cutting out countries. All right, let's glue this. So we have the difference between dark parts of the face and the light parts of the face in here. So this is your homework. Practice recognizing dark and light with a wide window as we practiced, and by cutting pictures into pieces. So you can cut small pieces to group different groups of colors, and you can practice recognizing shapes in different colors. And what you could also add at home is practice warm and cold colors. I'm going to teach you more about warm and cold colors in the next video, but you can practice already. Have this in mind. Warm is the sun, it's yellowish, it's warm, it's bright. Cool is like ice, it's blue. These two things are very important to practice already. How to not make a blotchy and patchy mess of your doll. Painting on a doll is a lot harder than painting on a flat surface. So we're going to practice our technique on a flat surface first before starting the doll. And don't skip this step. This is what you need: your medium, your sponge, 3 of your brushes, and the colors that you're going to use. And don't forget your varnish. I will advise you to use a sketchbook or a piece of paper of anything. Aluminum foil, a palette, a roll of toilet paper, and lastly you will need some water. The first thing we're going to do is to wrap the palette in aluminum foil. We do this for the environment, so that we are finished with painting, we can throw it away in the bin. You're going to grab your matte medium and put a little bit of that in the middle. I make a little hole so it doesn't go away. Well, this is more than enough, you can use a little less. Grab a color that you like. Let's start with blue, phthalo blue to be exact. That's a nice neutral color of blue. You see, this is a lot more than we're going to need. Dip only the tip of the brush in blue. So this is more than enough. And we are going to put it on the side. Now clean your brush. And of course, never forget to close the lids, because we don't want to waste anything. And between every step, we are going to dry our brush. Bam. Okay, we're going to practice blending. This is very important to practice, because in skin there are no straight and harsh lines. This is the first type of blending. So if we want to go from dark to light, we are going to grab a little bit of the color, a pure color. This is the darkest color. Then we're going to grab a little bit of medium, and you see it will get transparent. It will look white, but it will make everything transparent. So if we get a little bit more and a little bit of medium, just a tiny bit, you will see that it gets lighter. Do you see it? And if you want it even lighter, you don't grab more blue, because you don't need it, because you'll need a lot of medium. And then mix it again with a lot of medium. It will get very transparent and it will get even lighter. And if you go over it with all of them, you will have some type of blending. You will see, if you do blending like this, it will take many layers. The second type of blending is blending on the surface. So and in dolls we are going to use all 3 of these parts. We're going to try this with a circle. This type of blending, you need to hurry up and be fast. I will get just pure matte medium on my brush and then blend only the sides. If you go to the middle, you will everything will get one color. Then again, I will brush everything off, so my brush is empty, and I'll get some other pure matte medium and hope it's not dry yet. Not totally, but it's getting dry faster. So again, only the sides. This is another way of blending. The third way of blending is starting with the lightest color. And then while it's still wet, so this you have to hurry and be quick, we'll get a little bit more of the blue and blend it in. And then you'll get a dry brush. Yeah, this is the dry brush technique. And you'll brush it just over the edges, and you will see it's getting blended. So let's get a little bit more of blue. That's a bit darker, and go over with your dry brush. And then we'll get the purest form of blue. You'll see the dry brush is very easy. In between each step, don't forget to dry your brush. The last type of blending is blending with a sponge. You can find this sponge just the same in your package. So you can see I don't have a lot of blue left. The this needs to happen when it's wet. And you go to the side. And you can see it's not wet enough because it's on paper, and paper dries it's very quickly. So this is how you get blotchiness, if it's dry and you are not able to sponge it anymore. You can see it's only just a little bit on the sponge. Let's try again and grab a little bit more blue. I'll take it from the top lid. Okay, so always use enough medium so it's not dry. This medium prevents it from drying too quickly. So let's try again. It's very important that I show you this as well, so you know how to prevent blotches. You can see now that it is a lot more wet. Let's try again. So actually on paper this doesn't really work very well. We need to prime first. Let's prime. So this is what happens when you don't prime. It literally is the paint gets soaked up by the paper. So that is why we always prime our dolls. We are going to prime with the matte varnish from your package. So this prevents the paint to get soaked in by the vinyl of your doll, or soaked in by the thing that you work on. So you're going to add a nice layer, and we will have to let it dry. I always soak my sponges in water. They get softer and easier to use when you soak them in water first. Okay, so in here it's invisible, but I've primed this part. Let's grab our little bit of blue again and mix it 50-50 with medium. Okay. Now we're going to put it over the varnish. You already see that it doesn't get soaked up by the water. This is why varnishing is essential. And now you can blend. Do you see? And we can blend as much as we want until it disappears. That's not what I wanted to show you. So let's try again. You can literally dab everything off, which is a problem for a lot of beginner doll painters. So when you blend, make sure you don't dab too hard and just only touch it slightly. And then go to the side. And then there will be no harsh edges anymore. And this is what you want to get. The next thing we're going to practice are brush strokes. We don't need a lot of brushes. We only have 4 of them in the package. I am going to give you a little exercise. First of all, you're going to try to make thin brush strokes with each of your brushes. Then you're going to try medium brush strokes with each of your brushes. And then hold them totally flat and make thick brush strokes. Now you can see that with one brush you can make different types of brush strokes. So first thin, then medium. And you can also see what happens in the beginning and in the end, that there is lots of paint and then less paint. Do this with all of the brushes you plan to use. So thin, only use the tip. Well, we need a little bit more. This is a good practice because you will see how much paint you'll need as well. Thin, medium, and thick. Oh, and again, this shows perfectly how much paint you will need or not. So try this with all of your brushes. The most important thing before starting to paint is to make sure that the doll is not greasy, because when it's a little bit fat, the paint nor the primer will stick to the doll, and that would be very frustrating. So you can use a lot of things, but the easiest way is to use just a little bit of dish soap. And it's very important to wash the doll thoroughly, like 4 or 5 times. I use warm water. If you use a sponge, make sure that it's not too sharp so it doesn't scratch the doll. But I prefer to use my finger so I can feel where I am going. ASMR. And then I rinse it with hot water. Not boiling water, but hot water. And then we repeat the process a few times. And you can do this with the limbs as well. And after rinsing with hot water, make sure to air dry the doll. For priming, this is what you need. A brush, a big brush, a wand tip, your matte varnish and your doll. First we're going to put the varnish on the palette and close the lid very well again when it's finished. So grab a scoop of varnish. This thing called a wand tip is very important because when little dust particles or hairs stick in the varnish, you can easily take them off. So we're going to start with the sides and we're going to varnish in parts. Very important. Because varnish dries quickly, we're going to sponge it in sections. And the purpose of sponging is to make the surface even. So when you see that there's no stripes of the brush, no brush strokes visible, you can continue with another part. So let's do the cheeks. You don't need a lot of varnish on your brush. So when we've done the cheeks, we're going to dab the surface nice and smooth. And when it's nice and smooth, only then we're going to continue. Let's do the eyes. Make sure to get inside of the eyes as well, because you're going to paint the inner part of the eyelid too. And because the inside is harder to reach with a sponge, you're going to dab with your big brush. You're going to dab with your big brush and then you're going to sponge. So the areas that you can't reach with the sponge are not stripy. Okay, next we're going to do the nose, and be sure and make sure you get the inside of the nose as well. And you see that I dab this because it's again very hard to get in there with the sponge, but the nose will not be stripy like that. So let's dab the nose. All right, then we're going to go for the mouth. And again, dab the mouth and all the edges. And then sponge again. This part takes a little bit of patience. But don't be tempted to varnish the whole doll at once and then dab when you're done, because then half of the brush strokes will be dried and your skin will have a weird texture. We don't want that. So we're going to do the neck later. And now we're going to do the eyes. And again, in the eyes we'll be dabbing all the product in. Make sure you get all the edges. And then we're going to dab. So after we've done the ears, we've done the hardest things, but we're going to wait with the ears a little bit later. I see we're going to need a little bit more varnish. And now onto the forehead. This goes quick because it doesn't have small cracks and edges. And again, first dab until that is smooth before we continue on. You see that this is also working as a matting medium. The parts that are dabbed are matted. So now we can see a little dust particle, and we have the one tip ready before everything is dry, so we can easily take it out. And then I wipe it off so the dust is also gone from the one tip. So it's time for the other side. I did not catch this side of the cheek yet. Like that. And again, dabbing it to get a nice beautiful skin structure instead of brush strokes. We've done the forehead until here, so we're going to do the biggest part of the baby's head now. It doesn't matter if you go over the edges of your previous paint. Make sure that every part is painted so you can go over the edges. It's better than leaving a hole unpainted, because where you haven't painted your varnish on, the paint layers in the future will not stick. So varnish makes it a lot easier to paint. So we've done this part, and now on to the back part. You see, it's only a very thin layer that you need. If you go too thick with the varnish, you will get a little bit of a crusty structure, and that will be harder to paint. So just minimal paint and a lot of dabbing. And now it's time for the neck and the ears. And take some time for the edges as well. So for the ears, make sure that you don't use too much varnish, because then again it will get crusty. And we are not swiping, but we are dabbing on the ears, because again this is hard to reach with a sponge, and you want to reach every little crack. Like that. All right, and the other ear, just a little bit on your brush again and dab it on. Just like that. All right, and we've saved the neck for last. So we're going to start doing that now. You will notice that most of the head will already be dry, because matte varnish dries very quickly. So we've done the neck, and that's the last part we're going to touch. Make sure you don't touch the head too much, because you don't want your fingerprints on the skin. When you've done all the varnishing, we're going to check everything with the one tip, and just to see if there's any dust or hair sticking on your doll. So I see a tiny particle of dust here, and I remove it like that. And another one here. It's important with every step to remove all the dust that you can see. And that is it. So I hope you've learned a lot of new things today. In the next video, we're going to get started to actually paint on our doll. And I have also made an ebook with all the steps that are explained in this video, with high quality images, so you can read them through in your own pace. If you want to get the ebook as well, send me an email, and you can hit the follow and subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!